whether in science and the physics of sports. How many people have seen like the science of sports on ESPN? Those, yeah, Scout people. My sons are totally into that. Right? They will sit down and watch someone talk about science, and if it's Calvin Johnson's, 45-inch vertical leap, and they're like, wow, how can they measure that? Or how fast a lacrosse shot goes. Early in my career, I worked a lot with athletes. I was a college athlete. And I worked with athletes that were failing in school. I could not believe that anybody who was smart enough to be a great athlete could actually fail in school. But there weren't the connections made. So we started immediately kind of connecting, and this was mostly a project with boys, connecting their love of sports to learning literacy, bringing in certain kind of readings, letting them use their knowledge of sports to learn about science or math or learning about history and other cultures through sports. So it's become a really powerful way to kind of make those connections. And we were able to have a lot of success with the boys because we began to map their intellectual identity on with their athletic identity. Because most kids who play sports are readers. Right? You give them magazines or football cards or other things that are connected to sports, and they'll read it. So one of the things we have to think about is, why do we keep the things that kids like to read and learn about out in the classroom? Because it's not that it's not academic, it just isn't tradition. Other ways that we use popular culture in the classroom is having young people create plays. Right, this is an example of elementary kids that we worked with in Southern California who ended up mastering math and English and having very high test scores, the highest test scores in their sub-district for many years running. And we created this curriculum around art for change, asking kids about issues that they cared about. This one particularly was violence. They lived in a neighborhood that had a great amount of violence. So they ended up doing things like reading police reports, looking at statistical databases. These are fourth graders, and so they knew how to go on to censusfactfinder.gov and find poverty rates and other rates for their zip code. We did get information from the police department. They learned how to conduct surveys. They learned how to conduct interviews, do neighborhood walks, all in the context of writing plays. They were advocating for an end to a culture in their school that permeated violence. These kids traveled around, performed their plays, we brought them to the university. They became very excited about learning and reading and writing because we had a whole curriculum that was interdisciplinary, that was centered around an issue that they cared about. And we've done a lot of that work. We continue to do that work in Harlem, we do that work in New Jersey, we do that work in Los Angeles, we do that work in Indiana, asking kids, what is it that you care most about, and how would you like to change your community? Thinking about working with collaborative teams of teachers, how can we wrap that into our literacy curricula, how can we wrap that into our social studies curricula, our math, and our science? But it starts at a different place, we're kind of connecting to their thoughts about what they want to change, but also the ways that they like to communicate, like writing plays, or slamming poems, or creating PowerPoint slides, or putting together digital films, are all things that we allow young people to do. Mock trials, debates, and Socratic conversation. We do a lot. These are some of the students that I work with in New York. These are students from the Bronx and from Brooklyn that we work with them in their classrooms. But these kids, we pulled out, we gave them nothing. No pay, no college credit. They came to the university every day during the summer, their own summer, from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock to learn about philosophy and history because they were learning how to debate. And this particular team of folks and the students they represent ended up in the New York State Championships taking 16 of the top 20 places in the state this year. And traveling around the country, and what we did was we allowed them to argue. And they chose the issues that they cared about and wanted to debate, and we brought their teachers. Teachers brought this back into their English classes and their history classes. This is students during that summer in school, for no credit, staying all day, and as a matter of fact, getting kicked out of the university 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night each day because they wanted to stay. And I think that part of the problem we have in education is we need to change how we think about these kids. Right? We just ask them a different question, and you get different kinds of results. So having kids involved in talking and debating and developing these kinds of 21st century skills is important. This is another slide where some of the work that we have students writing, legal briefs, and well down into upper elementary, middle school, not just high school. We have kids doing school stuff. We do a lot of work with hip hop, critical poetry, having kids slam, join slam teams. We have a group of young people that call themselves digital advocates, and they're making films and writing poems, and plays, and blogs, and websites, and doing digital advocacy, these social media sites, all for issues that they care about. We have a group that's in a project, a housing project in Upper Manhattan, and they decided in their after school, we worked with them during school, to create their own community newsletter. And to share that, they brought their parents in. It was about 8 o'clock at night, like this late at night. They wanted to bring their parents and get their parents excited about developing the community newsletter. Right? These are the kinds of things that happen. We begin to connect with young people, and this, we're bringing that into the classroom. And now teachers in their classes are having students develop community newsletter and having students contribute to it. One of the schools I work at in New Jersey, in Orange, they have their own internal social media site in the school where the kids have pages like Facebook and they're connecting to each other, and they're taking the best of what's produced in there and kind of putting it out for the world to see in a community blog. These are some examples, some of the poems. And I have some examples on YouTube. If you email me, and I'll show you what it looks like some of the students are doing this kind of work. We had a conference a few weeks ago. We brought 600 people to Columbia University, and the kids were slamming their poems, and we videotaped it, and so some of that's on YouTube now, just what kind of work kids do. These are a couple of slides from the media literacy stuff that we do. We ask kids these kind of questions. What does it mean to be normal or cool or have power in an advertisement or image? We have students look at images like this. Right? So if you think about this, these images, how many images like this do kids see during their formative years? Millions, right? Thousands today. So when I said that our boys and girls are literally dying over their inability to read these images, that's true. So we have kids kind of analyzing these. What does it mean to have power? What does it mean to be cool? What is it saying about what it means to be a young girl if you look at Hayden Panettiere? What does it mean to be a young boy if you look at Finn? How can I weave this into a curriculum that's for elementary school students, or for middle school students, or for high school students? Or how can I connect this to language arts? Or how can we do a social studies activity around the media and culture? How could we connect this to science? How can we connect this to math and look at statistics about how kids use the media? And these are the kinds of things that we do when we're trying to connect to these images. Right? But we also want to connect to these kinds of images, right? Because we don't often think about that image on the left as being relevant. So one of the things we have kids do is produce their own media. Right? We give them cameras. We create websites. If you don't like the way that young people are being portrayed in the world, portray them yourself. If you don't like the media that exists, create your own media. Right? And then we document the kinds of skills that young people are developing. That they're developing, first and foremost, a new identity. A sense of themselves as people that can produce something that matters. Second, they're developing a different relationship to the world, that attachment we talked about. That I'm the kind of person who's going to care about things. 3, they're developing a connection with the others that they're working with. That we work together on these kinds of issues. 4, they're developing a set of really competent academic skills that are going to make them different kinds of students. Right? That it's not this is not extra to school. This is actually the substance of what school should look like. So we have used as media producers. The last thing that I'll just run through real quick is we do a lot of work having students as researchers. Right? So you see some of these images of very young kids doing work with science or gardening. We also have them do social science research. We connect this across the subject areas. And I think that the Carl Sagan quote is true, that kids start out with a natural-born desire to be scientists. I can see that in my own 2nd grade son and my 7th grade son. I even see it in younger kids. We have them say, you're going to be scientists, you're going to be researchers. We send them out into the neighborhood. and the kind of excitement that they bring to that. We start with this question. These are, what the kids look like that we're doing work with. If you could change the world, what's one thing you would do? If you could change your community, what would you do? And how can we have that as a starting point for how we work together as faculty? There's a lot in common core. These are some of the other students that I've worked with that says that students are going to have to learn how to do the research. This is a particular project that we have in Harlem now. Youth historians. I was talking to you about this earlier. So this is a project that we're doing now in the schools with social studies teachers where the kids are actually collecting research in the neighborhood of Harlem and becoming historians. And the student who created this project, is probably 21 or 22 years old, says, I want to make it different. I want kids to like history. I want them to be connected to the neighborhood. This is a kid from St. Louis, Missouri, right, who works in my institute. And, after these kinds of conversations, like, I want to do something. So he got a grant from the provost. He hasn't even taught yet. And he created this project. He brought it to the principal of the school. The principal said, I want you to speak to the whole student body. October 10th, he went and spoke to the whole student body. And now we have to figure out how to get more people. He's got 4 or 5 people working for him. A couple of the teachers want to work for him. They're doing this project. One of the major museums in Harlem is going to house the kids and the work that they do. We're going to bring them to the university. And they're going to actually contribute to the community archives around history. What a way to get kids excited about history. What a way to get them excited about learning, develop academic skills. This is his website. So if you go to youthhistorians.com, you will find Barry Goldenberg, a 22, 23-year-old kid who's developed a project that I think is going to transform the neighborhood. And it's going to transform people's lives. And it's going to transform the way that they think about history. And it's going to transform their learning. This is another one that we've done, the Critical Minds Project. You can look at our youngcriticalminds.com site. And we just started by asking kids to write about their lives. And this work has taken off. We've done it in Boston. We've done it in New Jersey. We've done it in California. We've done it in Northern California, Southern California, Tucson. And the kinds of things that kids begin to write and share about their lives. And then we use that as branches in other areas of inquiry. So they talk about sociology, history, quantitative data that helps explain their lives. One of the kids, I think I have here. This is a principal in Newark in a school where 90% of the kids are passing the state test in a school that wasn't failing school for 5 years ago. And all the